Stand up, please.
Good morning, teacher.
Okay, good morning. Sit down.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, so today we will discuss about engineering design process. But actually, this is a continuation about the previous lesson. If you remember last week's lesson, we discussed about basic tools and basic equipment, right? And then I will ask to you that create simple project related to our lesson for today. So recall the previous lesson, like I said a while ago, the vocabulary for today is about materials, plastic, wood, metal, create, design, environment, and then method. So if you recall last time, we discussed about basic tools and materials. When I saw your project, some of your project, they use plastic, wood, metal, and different kinds of materials. So our objectives in this lesson is define what is engineering design process, explain the 7 phases of engineering design process, and then select the right materials in creating your project, and then develop simple project or prototypes, and then of course we test your project. Okay? So I just want to watch these short clips about engineering design process, then after that I will ask simple question.
The engineering design process is a tool that engineers use to guide their development of products and processes to make our dreams reality. Going through its steps helps engineers to empathize with the people who will use their finished products, learn from failure, and be creative problem solvers.
The engineering design process is iterative, meaning that engineers usually cycle through the process multiple times to get the best possible solution. The more times an engineering team iterates through the design cycle, the better the final solution will be.
The design process starts with empathy. Engineers need to clearly define the problem they're challenged to solve and the constraints they must work within. This often means communicating with clients or a group of people the solution is being designed for. Engineers also conduct background research on the problem, including finding experts who can give insight into technologies that might be adaptable to meet their needs.
After clearly defining the constraints, engineers open their minds by brainstorming. The goal in brainstorming is to come up with many creative solutions, not necessarily realistic ones. Only after coming up with many ideas do engineers focus on a promising solution and begin to plan the final product.
Engineers then build, test, and evaluate multiple prototypes. With each prototype, engineers learn from their failures and return to the earlier steps in the design process to ask how the product or process can be improved. Engineers help shape the future by using design thinking to solve tough problems. I can't wait to see how you use the engineering design process to make a world of difference.
Okay, based on the video, if you recall or if you remember, you will see the cycle, right? You will see the cycle. So what do you think? How many cycle or how many stages before, from the moment they start creating a prototype until to the last? How many step or phases? Anyone? 5 phases? 8? 10? What else? So if you say 5, 8, and 10, right?
Yeah.
So later you will know how many phases, okay, about the design process. Okay, let's start. The definition, guys, of engineering design process is a common series of steps that engineers use creating functional product or project and then process. In other words, you will create a project that can function. And what are those purpose of your project? Okay? A brief history of engineering design process. Can you help me to read, Lloyd?
Human beings have been adapting their environment to better suit their needs and wants science before recorded history. there have always been people who design and build tools or other devices to solve problems or improve life.
Okay. As you can see, the brief history of engineering design process is always been people who design or thinking about the tools or product that can help or what? Improve our lives in daily living. In the 19th century, starting the mid-19th century, the new process methods, most notably for steel and petroleum, reshaped transportation, construction, and manufacturing. Scientists, inventors, and entrepreneurs flourished, and game-changing technologies appeared in different industries. Okay? If you notice, not only in the field of petroleum, in the field of game, but we can apply. Okay? We can use the engineering design process in our daily lives. How? Okay, later you will know. So by the way, there are 7 phases, not 5, not 8, not 10. Only 7 phases in design process. Okay? The first phases is ask. What does it mean? Later I will elaborate these phases. Number 2, research. Number 3, imagine. Number 4, plan. Number 5, create. Number 6, test and evaluate. And number 7 is improve or redesign or reinvented. If your project is failed, you need to improve. Okay? The first one is ask. They said, identify the need and constraint. Can you read it, Tawan?
What needs to be accomplished? What is the overall goal of the project?
Okay. Number 1 says, ask. Project that related to our lesson. So identify and define the problem. And like I said, your project can solve